You got one of the most electrifying styles I've ever seen in the UFC. You never knew what you were gonna get out of you.
Oh, Forrest is in trouble! Jardine has defeated Forrest Griffin!
Tell me right now I have to go through Houston Alexander. It pisses me off. I think I should be fighting a contender.
Bounty hunter Keith Jardine. And a knee!
Like when I fought Chuck, when I fought Forrest, all these fights I was the underdog. Every time that I was supposed to win, I would lose. I couldn't carry the weight of being the favorite. There's just too much pressure.
Have you still not gotten paid for the fight in the Dominican?
No, nobody's got paid.
Keith Jardine's life reads like an action script. He went from small-town athlete and blue-collar tough man to knocking out UFC legends and then reinventing himself in Hollywood. Known as the Dean of Mean, Jardine became a fan favorite for his unorthodox fighting style, upset wins, and resilience through career highs and lows. If you're into the stories behind the fighters, the scandals, and the moments that shape the fight game, hit that like button and subscribe. Now let's step into the world of Keith Jardine. Born on October 31st, 1975 in Butte, Montana, Jardine's early years were shaped by athleticism and a series of physical challenges.
I grew up in a really small town in Oregon. Half my family were miners, other half were loggers.
And parents split at a young age?
Yeah.
Dad goes to LA.
Yeah. My freshman year of high school, and it was always my dream to live with my dad.
After moving to Oregon and then Los Angeles, he thrived in sports, playing football at Canoga Park High School and competing in Greco-Roman wrestling under coach Rudy Lugo.
Always been good at wrestling. I've always been good at football. Anything athletically, whatever I try to do, I've always excelled at.
His passion for sports extended into college, where he played defensive lineman at New Mexico Highlands University, while also wrestling and studying human performance in sport.
Football was the sport?
Football and wrestling, man. Wrestling's what really did it for me. I started wrestling in middle school in Oregon. What gave me a lot of confidence in California. I was just this really shy, man, incredibly shy kid. I got football scholarship to move to New Mexico.
But his path wasn't a straight line.
I was done playing football. I've always been fascinated with the UFC. And after I was done playing football, I was coaching football at the college there. And I found myself getting in like bar fights and stuff, but really not my personality. But I got all this testosterone and rage and something inside of me. And so, man, I got to do something.
Outside of sports, Jardine worked as a personal trainer, firefighter, football coach, miner, and even as a bounty hunter. All these experiences would prepare him for the toughest challenges ahead.
So I started playing rugby. I started showing up to wrestling tournaments, the national championships in Vegas, getting my ass beat. I just needed to do something.
And that leads to MMA?
Yeah.
Still driven by his passion for competition, Jardine eventually made his way to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where he began training with the renowned coach Greg Jackson, who would later shape his unorthodox MMA career.
I started late. I was in my late 20s, 28, something around there. So I went to the rec center once. I saw people doing like jiu-jitsu and stuff. I want to try that. And then so I said, hey guys, I got this wrestling tournament. Can I jump in with you guys, do some stuff? And then I started working out with them and excelled at that really fast. And I started to like level those guys really soon. And they were Greg Jackson students, by the way. And that's when I started doing MMA. Is I just covered Greg Jackson before that was anything over here.
That's the Albuquerque's finest. You started in Albuquerque before anybody was out there.
Drove up to Albuquerque and trained with Greg a couple times and decided I want to move to Albuquerque and learn this fighting thing. And I always had a dream of mine from like watching Bloodsport and all these things. Like, would it be like to actually fight people in competition, like be a Rocky, you know? I'm done with coaching. I want to give this fighting thing go for a year, and I'll do that or join the military. It was one or the other to pay off my student loans. UFC was never the goal, man. That was just so far-fetched at the time. Then we started doing grappling tournaments, and it became closer and closer to reality, especially with the reality show.
Jardine's MMA debut came in 2001, and he quickly made an impact on the regional circuit.
A very experienced Amir versus the first-time fighter with Keith.
I thought my first fight was a guy named Amir Renovardi. I took him down and broke his arm in the first round.
I can't believe he didn't even tap.
All that for 100 to show and 100 to win.
What? Why? Why did you take that fight?
What do I know? I just wanted to fight.
His early career was defined by highs and lows.
MMA is the only sport in the world, I think, where it's like the cliche about the guy that wants it more, the hungrier guy over talent, that guy can win.
Out of everybody in MMA, he got the best nickname. Did you name yourself or somebody gave you that?
I did. I was doing a K1 tryout thing in Vegas. We had to make up a nickname, and I thought Mean Jardine rhymes. Well, let's do something better than that. I heard of Mean Joe Green, but they did it on camera. The Dean of Mean. And I had a big old spiel behind that I did for them. I forgot what it was.
I can't picture you doing that because you're so like quiet and reserved and shit.
But Jardine persevered, moving on to fight in Japan's Pancras in 2003, where he earned a draw against Kiichiro Yamamiya.
I was fighting an ex-king of Pancras, and they brought me out like 3 days before the fight, on the day before the fight. Oh, by the way, weigh-ins are on the day of the fight now. What?
They were trying to fuck you over.
That's what they do to everybody. Ended up being a draw, but...
These experiences molded him into a more resilient fighter. In 2005, Jardine got his big break when he was cast on season 2 of The Ultimate Fighter.
Then I got called onto the reality show, which was definitely not my personality. I didn't want to do it, but that's what it takes to have a career in this sport. I'm going to do it. And that got me in the UFC.
They just locked you in this house and go talk to these people. That was so hard for me. We were all working together for one cause to make this sport work.
Known for his intense stare, goatee, and no-nonsense demeanor, Jardine stood out. He was picked first by coach Rich Franklin and was considered a favorite to reach the finals.
Keith, you're my #1 pick this season. You impress me every day in practice.
However, Jardine faced a tough opponent in the semifinals in Rashad Evans.
He gets a guy hurt and he smells the blood. I think he'll finish it.
This is the apex of my career. This point I've given up the last 5 years of my life to make it to the UFC, to make it as a fighter, to make a living as a fighter, and this is my chance.
Jardine fell short, losing to Evans.
Believe me, kid, you fought a great fight.
Despite the disappointment, Jardine formed a strong bond with Evans, and the two promised never to fight each other in the UFC.
Main partner was Rashad, right?
After the reality show, that's when Jackson's blew up. I got Rashad to come down to Albuquerque to start training, and we had a good team there. So,
despite not making it to the final, Jardine's performance earned him a UFC contract. His UFC debut came at the Tough 2 finale in November 2005, where he fought as a heavyweight against Kerry Shaw and won via TKO in round 2. After securing that win, he made the decision to drop from heavyweight to light heavyweight to better suit his frame. Jardine's unconventional style had begun to take shape. Low hands, unpredictable movements, and precise strikes.
You got one of the most electrifying styles I've ever seen in the UFC, hands down. No arguing that. You never knew what you were going to get out of you.
His next victory came against Mike Whitehead at UFC 57, further cementing his place in the UFC.
Mike Whitehead on my first pay-per-view fight, going out the arena, looking at myself on the big screen, like, oh, that's fucking cool. That's me walking out to the ring on the fucking UFC. That's fucking cool, man.
Now, this is your first fight in the Octagon at 205. Is that where we expect to see you in the future?
I'm real strong here.
Jardine's first major turning point came in 2006, where he faced Stephan Bonnar at Ultimate Fight Night 4. The fight was a back-and-forth affair, with many believing Jardine had done enough to win. However, the judges awarded Bonnar a controversial unanimous decision, leaving Jardine frustrated.
What about the controversial fight to Stephan Bonnar? I feel like a lot of people feel like that, like you got robbed.
Yeah, that was my first big fight. That's what made me popular, because like all the websites back then were saying that I was a winner in that fight and all that, and like, oh, Keith got hosed, whatever, and like, all right, cool, this is great, you know. Yeah.
I felt real sneaky in there. Like I pulled a little fast one. Feels like I stole something and got away with it.
Despite the loss, Jardine used this setback as fuel to propel him forward. Later that year, Jardine faced another major challenge in Wilson Gouveia. After a rocky first round, Jardine rallied back to win by unanimous decision. But it was his stunning victory over Forrest Griffin at UFC 66 in December 2006 that truly put him on the map.
You know, you came into the Forrest Griffin fight, UFC 66, and, you know, huge underdog. Was that fight like the silencing of the doubters for the way you came out on top?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
Griffin, the original Ultimate Fighter winner, was a heavy favorite.
When I fought Forrest Griffin, I was a wreck. I wish the building would just fall down on top of me and something would happen and I wouldn't have to do the fight. And then when standing in the cage before the fight, like, oh, this is great, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you got a very unorthodox striking method.
But Jardine shocked the MMA world by dropping Griffin and finishing him off with a barrage of right hands for a first-round TKO.
Towards the end of the round is like, oh man, he's breathing hard. He's tired. Am I tired? No, I'm not tired. Like I'm having this conversation with myself. Twice I lunged forward and both times he ducked his head down. So the third time I threw the uppercut hook and that was it.
Forrest is down to the ground. He's going to try to work inside.
Big right hand by Keith Jardine.
Jardine coming over the top.
Oh,
Forrest is in trouble. This fight is over. Keith Jardine has defeated Forrest Griffin.
Devastated Forrest Griffin. How are you feeling right now?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I was so nervous for this fight. Man, butterflies all day.
The victory was a turning point in Jardine's career and propelling him into the spotlight. 2007 saw Jardine enter his prime, but it wasn't without setbacks. After the impressive win over Griffin, Jardine faced Houston Alexander at UFC 71.
You know, I want that belt bad, and you tell me right now I have to go through Houston Alexander to get it. It pisses me off because I think I should be fighting a contender.
Many thought Jardine would easily dispatch the newcomer, but in a surprising turn of events, Alexander knocked Jardine out in just 48 seconds.
I knocked him down in the first few seconds. He got up right away. I get him in a tight clinch, and I throw a couple knees, and I hear the ref say something. I'm like, what'd you say? It's weird. It's just a focus thing sometimes, and bam, gone.
The loss was a tough blow, especially after Jardine had been so confident of a title shot. But he bounced back in September 2007, taking on UFC legend Chuck the Iceman Liddell at UFC 76.
Seen his picture so much and heard his name so much every day. When I get in that ring, I'm going to want to take it to him pretty good.
If it stays standing, it's going to be an exciting fight until he falls down.
UFC 76 was like a career-defining moment for you. Was there ever tension with the UFC brass with you kind of beating the golden boy of the UFC? I feel like that's something no one saw coming.
Yeah.
And was it harder for you?
Yeah, because Chuck was supposed to fight Vanderlei. I forgot whatever reason that couldn't happen right away, and they wanted him to fight. And so I remember I got the call. You get that Joe Silva call, like, oh, fuck. And so they pinned up against me so they can have the big Vanderlei fight afterwards.
Liddell, a feared knockout artist, was expected to use Jardine as a stepping stone, but Jardine executed a flawless game plan.
I saw him fight Jeremy Horn, but Jeremy Horn got some cool leg kicks. Well, if he could do that, I could do that.
Chopping down Liddell with low leg kicks and frustrating him for 3 rounds.
I never told anybody before, you know what my game plan for that was? Remember back then the canvas was really slippery? It was a Giants can in the middle of the ring. It's like a different material. I'd race to that thing. You watch the tape, I'll stand with my back foot right on the end of the logo. Cause I know I had power sitting on my right hand. He's on skates on the slippery canvas and I'm on the logo.
That's smart fighting.
Yeah.
In a razor-thin split decision, Jardine was declared the winner, shocking the world and solidifying his place as a top contender in the 205-pound division.
How good does it feel?
Feels great, man. Feels like I won the belt.
That is like the craziest thing of all time, to be able to stand there and bang with that guy and win a decision on that.
But I was proud that I won a decision against him instead of like maybe I got lucky with a punch or something like that. I was so locked in and so focused for that fight.
Do you feel like Chuck Liddell overlooked you or something?
Oh, I'm sure he did. It's not really unfair for him. He is looking to fight Vanderlei, and like I just got knocked out by Houston. I'm fighting a legend. I'm gonna make my name off of this. This is a big thing for me. I'm gonna go do this, right?
However, 2008 brought both triumph and tragedy. Jardine was matched with Vanderlei Silva, the former Pride champion, at UFC 84. Silva, known for his aggressive, brawling style, overwhelmed Jardine in the first round, knocking him out in just 36 seconds. It was a brutal loss that reminded Jardine of the risks of trading punches with such a dangerous opponent.
And he baited me for this thing and caught me with a big punch right behind my ear.
But Jardine bounced back once more, earning a gritty split decision win over Brandon Vera in October 2008. The victory showed that Jardine still had the heart to compete at the highest level. In early 2009, Jardine was set to face Quinton Rampage Jackson at UFC 96, with the winner potentially earning a title shot. But the fight presented a unique dilemma. If Jardine won, he might have to face his training partner, Rashad Evans, the UFC light heavyweight champion. Both fighters had agreed never to fight each other, and the question of whether Jardine would sacrifice a title shot for the sake of friendship lingered in the background. The fight itself was a hard-fought battle, with both fighters exchanging heavy shots. In the end, Jackson won a unanimous decision, but Jardine's performance was lauded for its toughness and heart.
One of the judges told me he had me winning unless I didn't get, but I got knocked down in the last 10 seconds. I won for that, dude. I had you winning. Douglas Crosby told me that. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks. I didn't know if I was winning. I didn't know if I was losing. I just knew I was surviving. I didn't win that fight, but that was my favorite fight, dude. It was a good fight, man. It was a war. Afterwards, Dana, we got fight of the night. Dana gave me my win bonus, and for me, it was easier to come in the ring and fight Chuck, fight you, fight guys like that because there's a fucking monster in there, man. And it's a fucking legend, and no one thinks I'm gonna win. I'm gonna show them.
Despite the loss, Jardine earned Fight of the Night honors, once again proving his resilience. Unfortunately, after this fight, Jardine's career began to decline. He suffered back-to-back knockout losses to Thiago Silva and Ryan Bader, and by 2010, his UFC run was in jeopardy.
When I was in the UFC, every time that I was supposed to win, I would lose. And every time that I was supposed to lose, I would do really well. You put me in a position where, like, yes, easy fight, easy win, whatever. That pressure, I never dealt with that pressure well.
In 2010, Jardine faced Matt Hamill at UFC 121. The fight was a bloody, gritty affair, but Jardine lost a majority decision after being deducted a point for an eye poke. This was the final straw for his UFC career. After a 4-fight losing streak, Jardine was released by the UFC in June 2010. Determined not to give up, Jardine continued fighting in regional circuits, but his struggles continued. He faced Trevor Prangley in September 2010 at Shark Fights 13, but lost by split decision, marking his 5th straight loss. The fight would be remembered for a bizarre incident where Jardine shoved a Texas Commission official before the fight. The act seemed impulsive, but it was enough for the Texas Commission to suspend Jardine indefinitely. The incident incident raised eyebrows, and it only added fuel to the fire of his tumultuous post-UFC career. The chaos continued when Jardine fought at the poorly organized Nemesis fighting event in the Dominican Republic, a promotion that earned infamy for its disorganization. There were no bell sounds to signify rounds, no proper timekeeper, someone was using a mobile phone to time the rounds, and, most shockingly, there were no official judges present for the fights. Fighters, including Jardine, were left to wonder if they would be paid for their efforts as the event's logistical chaos unfolded. Despite winning his fight, Jardine's reputation suffered as the event evolved into chaos. The lack of proper officiating meant that there was no clear oversight on the results, and the entire event became a farce.
What was it like fighting on the smaller shows?
I mean, a lot of people know what happened in the Dominican, it was a big scam. I fought down there in front of about 200 people and nobody got paid.
What was supposed to be a redemption fight for Jardine only deepened his troubles. The whole debacle turned into a comedy of errors. As the fighters realized they might not even receive the payment promised by the event organizers, the event quickly became infamous within the MMA community. Jardine later recounted his disbelief, saying, "I had a conversation with myself as I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to get paid here or not. This thing's a mess." Even though he walked away with the victory, Jardine felt more disillusioned than ever as the chaos of the event overshadowed his win.
Have you still not gotten paid for the fight in the Dominican?
No, nobody's got paid.
Doing anything to try to rectify this?
We just got the footage of the fight, and we're going to try and find a way to get it out there and use the proceeds for that fight to pay for all the fighters.
Still, he fought for the love of the sport, showing resilience even when everything around him was crumbling. This event in the Dominican Republic marked a turning point in Jardine's career. His reputation was now tied to a series of unfortunate events. Despite the controversies, Jardine's determination to keep fighting and his loyalty to the sport shone through, even when the circumstances were beyond his control. He would later reflect on these years with a sense of humor, acknowledging the absurdity of it all, but never letting it define him. Jardine found a brief return to form when he stepped into Strikeforce in 2011, taking on Gegard Mousasi on short notice.
That was a fight I took on 8 days notice, and that's probably one of the toughest motherfuckers ever fought.
The fight ended in a majority draw, and Jardine earned respect for his toughness and willingness to fight anyone.
Musashi really tore up my face.
He later moved down to middleweight to face Luke Rockhold for the Strikeforce Middleweight Championship.
I'm making my debut at middleweight, and I'm gonna shock the world on Saturday.
How does it feel to change weight?
Changed my life, man. I love the diet, and I feel better than I've ever have. The dumbest thing I've ever done is I thought maybe I'll try 185, and that'll make people interested in me fighting again. I'll get back into the UFC that way.
My last 2 fights, I got a stupid idea that I'd cut to 185. That made me old real quick.
I cut so much weight. I was so dehydrated. I couldn't move, man. Yeah. I couldn't move.
But the weight cut was too much, and he lost by first round TKO. His final fight came in 2012 against Roger Gracie, where he was decisively defeated. Realizing he could no longer perform at the level he once did, Jardine transitioned into semi-retirement.
Do you feel on some level like you got away from the unorthodox Keith and got a little too structured, and maybe that made you a little more predictable?
You're absolutely right.
By 2013, he admitted he was done as a fighter, reflecting on his body and mind no longer being capable of sustaining the grind of professional MMA.
How old were you when you retired?
I never retired. I just kind of stopped. No, nobody cared about me at that point anyways.
Post-MMA, Jardine transitioned into acting.
In a weird way, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be in movies. Since I was in a small town in Oregon, I didn't know what that meant. And how, just like, that was my escapism. I loved movies, man.
Appearing in films like Crank, John Wick, and Bird Box, as well as TV shows like Breaking Bad and Hawaii Five-0.
After you retired from MMA, how did you actually get into movies to begin with?
After I fought Chuck Liddell, 2 days after that, I was in a small town in Mexico seeing my doctor because it felt like I just got out of a car accident. In that little small town was Brian Taylor and Mark Neveldine in a cafe that I went to, and they did Cranks and they did Gamer and all that. And like, hey, we're doing this film in Albuquerque. Saw your fight. They're all extra nervous. Would you mind coming, like reading for us or something? And like, yeah, sure, man. I always want to do movies.
Yeah.
And they put me in their movie Gamer, and I got my SAG card from that. Best thing ever happened to me. So I tried really hard to be an actor, and spent all my money flying to LA for auditions and all that. And like, I'm getting all deep in my credit cards, and I'm getting down there because I didn't have much money, Looking in there, stunts saved my life. I got a lot of stunt jobs, and I started getting more and more acting jobs. I started taking acting a lot more serious, and I learned the art of it because it's way more competitive than fighting. I'm writing, directing, making my own stuff now too, so.
Alongside his acting career, he co-founded Caveman Coffee Co., a business that promoted the paleo diet and healthy living.
And then I met Tate at an audition, my partner Tate Fletcher, and Tate already has a coffee business. I found a coffee bean that was unique, and we started selling that.
almost as a way to promote what we're talking about. And that grew into like a hobby that we're selling coffee. And now it's a real business. Now it's like, uh-oh, how do we keep up with this thing?
Yeah. Jardine's entrepreneurial ventures were just as successful as his fight career, showing his adaptability and resilience. He also gained viral fame in 2014 for chasing down a thief in a parking lot, proving that the Dean of Mean was still willing to fight for what was right.
A champion MMA fighter scored a major takedown outside his Albuquerque house today.
And some guy gets out, goes in my mailbox and grabs all my mail, throws it in his car, and then speeds off. I just find my keys, I run out of the house, I jump in my Bronco, and I chase down the street after him.
Cut the thief off, jumped out, made like he was going to punch the driver. Driver gave up. He is identified as 39-year-old Richard Davenport, seen in the corner of this picture that Jardine took. The Postal Inspection Service are now investigating the mail thefts.
Keith Jardine's legacy is defined not by championships, but by his ability to compete at the highest level despite the odds.
Like when I fought Chuck, when I fought Forrest, Brandon Vera, all these fights I was the underdog, but I couldn't carry the weight of being the favorite. I didn't have the champion mindset, man. I couldn't be the champion. Like that was never in my cards because, man, if I was the favorite, man, there's just too much pressure. I got to do this and I got to do that. And I got really mechanical about the way I fought.
A fan favorite and true underdog, Jardine defeated 2 former UFC champions, Chuck Liddell and Forrest Griffin, and went toe-to-toe with some of the most dangerous fighters of his era.
I knew in my heart, I knew how good I was and how good I could be. I was good enough to be champion. Fought in so many champions, beat some, lost some, I was good enough, but I never succeeded in that way.
His career was a roller coaster ride of highs and lows, but it was his resilience and determination that made him unforgettable. Whether in the cage, on the screen, or in business, Jardine's story is one of perseverance. His legacy will always be remembered not for the title he never won, but for the heart and fight he brought every step of the way.
And that's one thing that I admire most about Keith. Every single one of his fights, whether he lost by knockout or got the dramatic knockout, he goes out there and he lays it on the line every single time.